Welcome to Roundtable Decision. I am your host, Bart Bergenoff. And thank you for all of those subscribers who subscribed in 2019 or are still watching my videos. And for those subscribers, you might notice that the setup looks a little different because I look a lot brighter. And the production value has definitely gone up as I got a lighting setup over Christmas. And I've been playing around with it the last few days to kind of figure out what the right setup looks like. And I think I've discovered at least something I'm happy with as far as my videos going from now on. And the production value has gone up tremendously. And I also have a green screen behind me, which I'm going to play around with in my next videos coming up over this week and over the next weeks. But in the purpose of today's video, it'll probably be a green screen behind me for the purpose of the entire video. And in later videos, I hope to mix and match between green screens and what I usually have done on my videos. But I was debating what I wanted to cover in my first video of 2020, as it is January 1st. And I saw Beto O'Rourke's tweet over the Texas shooting, what happened at a church in White Settlement, which is just outside of Dallas and the Fort Worth area, about 4 hours away from Houston, Texas. And I'm reading from Beto's tweet. So saddened to hear about another church shooting in Texas, this one in White Settlement near Fort Worth. Clearly what we are doing in Texas, what we are doing in this country when it comes to guns is not working. And I'll describe the situation and what happened first. So you have this gunman who is dressed in kind of like a hoodie and looks like long hair, and it's just off of the security footage from the church. He walks up to a guy who's standing behind the pews in the back, kind of the left-hand corner of the church. And he appears to ask him a question, and then he pulls out a large shotgun and shoots the man and shoots the guy next to him. And someone from the middle-ish left of the church pews at the back stands up with a gun and shoots the gunman dead. There was only one who died instantly on the scene, and the other guy who got shot, what I believe second, died a couple hours later at the hospital. But two were dead from a situation what could have been a lot worse if the gunman didn't get shot himself. So it brought up a large question about gun control. And you have one side of the gun control spectrum which says that this would have never happened if people don't have guns. And then you have the other side of the gun saying the only reason two people died and not more was because other people had guns. And these other people who had guns were a security team of the church. And I'll read this article from CBS News, what kind of talks about that in the whole. And I'll link all of these articles in my description if you want to read them themselves, like usual. So I'll read from the article. The man who shot and killed two people inside a Texas church on Sunday had visited the church several times before the shooting, the minister told the Christian Chronicle. And they helped him with food, and not so much money, as they thought food was better than cash. But he would always get annoyed when they wouldn't give him any cash or didn't give him cash at all. And it talks about how Israel Orlario, and I may be saying that completely wrong, thought that he looked rather suspicious as the man was wearing a disguise with a large wig and a large jacket, as you could see in some of the pictures from the church shooting. And the security guard of the church quoted saying this: when he came in, he was under observation. This was a case of maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's worth looking into. Church elder John Robertson, who mans the church video room, told the Chronicle. We had put him on isolation on one of the cameras back here so we could see what he was behaving at the moment. When he got up between the bread and the cup, or right after the prayer, we said we need to make an intervention, Robertson said. But before the team could intervene, and again, the team is a security team the church hired, Kinnaman took out a shotgun and opened fire. He killed two people, Richard Wright and Tony Wallace, before being fatally shot by Jack Wilson, a volunteer member of the church security team. At that point, the shooter, I guess, caught me out of the corner of his eye because I was walking down towards the front of the auditorium, Wilson told CBS News. He then kind of did a halfway turn towards me, and that's when I took the shot because I had a full frontal face. You train, but you hope you never have to go to that extreme. But if you do, your training will kick in, and that was evident yesterday. So, for those who don't know or might figure from this article, when he shot the guy who was a good probably 20, 30 yards away from where he was standing with a pistol, which is a rather impressive shot for those who have shot guns before, right between the eyes, and that is how the gunman, how he died. And again, that is a rather impressive shot, and it was very interesting because a lot of articles right after claim that he was a former FBI and all these other things, and I don't know if that is necessarily true, but either way, in the proper training he was received and his proper gun control of when he took the shot allowed only 2 people to die instead of a lot more, and that is something which should be praised and not buried underneath bizarre explanations like Beto Work says in his tweet, which is rather aggravating. And then it talks about how the church increased its security team after the 2017 church shooting. And I thought it was rather interesting. At the end of the article, it says Farmer, who was one of the people of the security of the church, told the Chronicle that anywhere from 25 to 30 parishioners now carry guns in a concealed carry. So I'll show the video from this shooting, and you'll be able to kind of see exactly what happened. If you don't want to see it, you could end the video now, as there's not too much more to really say about the situation itself. Besides that, it was extremely great example of proper gun usage when in self-defense, and it's something which would be praised by a lot of people, because again, I can't stress this enough, more than 2 people could have died if that wasn't done in that proper way. The video from the shooting, and again, it's quite graphic in its nature as it is a live shooting off of the church's security camera, and I can't really stress that enough, as it's rather hard to watch. But it is a extremely great example of proper use of self-defense, and a church should be praised for hiring or accepting volunteer people who know how to use guns as security teams just in case this were to happen. And you can watch the video with the volume, but I'm turning the volume off as it is extremely loud because the gun goes off, and you can kind of tell that through the video. So here's the gunman. He asked him like a question. Then you see him stand up shortly after, and these are the 2 people who were victims of the shooter as they both died. And then over here, you'll see the person standing up for the self-defense shot who kills the gunman. And I pointed it out just so you can kind of see exactly what happens. And then boom, you see him right there. And then another example of proper use, and there's probably going to be YouTubers who might do this, what kind of talk about why this was such a good example of what when you're in a example like this you should do, was you would see many more people come up, either part of the security team or normal parishioners who have concealed carry, will start walking with their guns drawn, slowly pointing it at the shooter, just in case if he were not to be dead. And you'll see him coming up through this row here and this row here. Right there, you see one? Then you see another. So that video is very hard to watch, but I kind of repeating myself because I really don't know exactly what to say particularly about it. Besides that, it's an example of great self-defense when in a situation like this, and it's hard to know how you can be prepared for something like this when it just happens. It is seconds reaction between when a gun was shot and when he was shot. I believe it's only like 3 to 5 seconds between the first shots and the shooter dying. And if that just didn't happen, a lot more people would be dead. And guns are obviously the problem. Are a problem as 2 people died from a gun, but a lot of people got saved because of other guns. So gun control in itself is a very complex issue. But just to say that the whole country is doing something wrong and treating this as a bad situation of guns when it's a good situation of guns like Beto O'Rourke has done as a Texan is kind of annoying to me. And I guess that's just kind of why I wanted to make the video. Is I guess it kind of sparked a nerve that I just felt like needed to be talked about.